Hi,
Hello.
how you feeling?
Nervous.
Things will be great. I mean, one case scenario is that no one shows up. We just have an awesome conversation with the three of us, and then it's no pressure.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's gonna happen. But yeah, how you doing, Curtis?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. How you feeling about this?
Um, Pretty good.
Good.
Just relaxed.
Good.
Yeah.
How are you relaxed? I don't
I think
understand. Like, teach me.
the time, like caution and like just all combined.
So would you mind making me a host, Hannah, so I can live stream?
Yeah, of course.
And then who's owning the slides?
Could you take care of that, Curtis?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you see, Curtis, I added a couple slides this morning?
I did.
Cool.
So I need to
And like for like the cue, like I'll just kind of just read your eyes. And like for the slides, just let me know if I like skipped over.
Yeah, I'll just let you know when to skip for the second one because they kind of bleed into each other.
Okay.
Oh, we had a bunch of new registrants.
Nice.
So someone asked, how can you decide who to network with? And no question. And no question. Yeah, that's the only new question that we got.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Could one of you guys make me co-host? Because I'm just an attendee now.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Cool.
Would you mind sending me the list of attendees when you have a moment, Hannah?
Yeah. Do you want that before our meeting?
No.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Okay, cool.
Also, I'm meeting with Curtis right after this call. But this is it for me and you, Hannah.
This is so weird.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't reach out anytime with questions or you just want to chat. And you have to let me know when you get back to the Berg. We'll meet up. That'd be wonderful. And Curtis, same goes for you. I know you're coming back soon. You're going to be busy, but yeah, definitely reach out maybe in September once things feel more settled.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't know how crazy the quarantine rules are going to be for you. So
Yeah, it's 2 weeks after I get there. So after that, it's kind of flexible, but
now, are there expectations that you have to like stay on campus?
no, but my parents kind of want me to, at least for like the next month.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Do you guys see the interview with President Trump? Like that came out a couple hours ago.
No.
Like the reporter was just really straight up kind of direct to him, and it's become like a whole meme on the internet. Because like the reporter's face of like just total exhaustion and like tired of his like idiocracy, like it was just so pure when President Trump was just talking about COVID.
How?
I'll have to check it out. What's the best meme you saw so far?
Okay, this is kind of weird. It's like, so basically like what they do with him is just they put his face next to a phrase that's just like pure facts, but like some like facts that you've never thought about. And like his like facial expression in that interview was just like total awe of like dumbstruck. Like he was just really confused and like he couldn't believe that President Trump was actually saying those things. And so like they just put those next to like a phrase which is just, like mind blowing or like just kind of stupid. And yeah, there's a bunch of those right now. It's pretty
Love
fun.
it. I'll be checking that out.
Yeah.
Aren't you so excited to be coming back to this country in its current state?
I am. I wanna.
Yay.
It's
Aren't you
exciting.
so glad to be staying away, Hannah?
Just write this moment slightly.
Oh, what a mess. What a mess. Oh my goodness. Have the notes open. Oh, how did the polls, how did those, were you able to upload all those?
They should be going up in order.
Okay,
if I
cool.
did it correctly.
So we'll do a quick intro. I'm just going to go through this exact order on the Google Doc, so there won't be any surprises, and then we'll do the questions at the end. And then the questions are mostly for you two, so just, I'll chime in as it makes sense, but I feel like people, they really want to hear from you, which I love. I love. Like that's always me talking. So
Should I leave like the first slide on once we start, or do we just kind of start off raw?
No, let's have the first slide on just as people enter the room. People are going to want to see our faces. What is the first slide? It's just that that beautiful one that Hannah created. Yeah, I guess so. Because it'll be intro and then the poll. Take the slides off until after the poll.
Okay, and then put it on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then take them off after you two complete your introductions. And then they'll come up again. What did you accomplish this summer? So number 8.
I hope people don't notice that I'm reading things from my notes, because I don't have like paragraphs written down, but I do have like talking points, so my eyes are going to be moving constantly.
I don't think they'll
That
notice.
looks okay.
Yeah. And I'm glad you didn't write out paragraphs. I attended a webinar 2 days ago, and the content was so good, so I wasn't like too annoyed, but they were all reading. I'm like, you should have just written a paper. No.
Did live streaming start?
No, I was gonna start it right at the top of the hour.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
I wish we could live stream to LinkedIn. You have to apply for it special, like even just to like live stream from the LinkedIn platform.
Oh, okay. I see.
Let alone like the Zoom integration. No. And then I see you're recording, Hannah. So after the recording, can you upload that to either upload it to the Google Drive, and if it's too big of a file, there's WeTransfer. And you can email it via WeTransfer to me.
Okay, cool.
Compresses files. Curtis has did that before. It works really well.
We'll probably have to edit out the first 15 minutes before the webinar starts.
That's a quick fix. Mm-hmm. feel like we should have like music playing as people enter the room.
That's a good idea. Let me mute all my messaging apps. I saw Ryan registered. Is he also coming on?
Yeah.
Cool. Because I know Emily also registered. I don't know if she's able to make it or not, but she did, so.
Hope so.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nice thing about the recording, though. It'll be great to have it online. It'll be on the YouTube page, and it will live on the Facebook page as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't make an agenda slide. Just remember that. I'll share the agenda. Is it very noisy? Can you hear my air conditioner running?
No, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Can you hear mine?
No.
Okay, cool.
I'm so glad you're joining us, Tabitha. I don't know if you can hear me yet, but it's lovely to see your pretty picture and know you're involved. Tabitha, I met through the Disrupt HR group. So there was a conversation, goodness, like back in May about interns and whether people are taking them and how a lot of intern programs canceled or backed out. We're super excited to have you here. And it was just really a great conversation. I'm like, no, we need more internships right now. So it's fun to see this is a full circle moment. Curtis, would you mind putting up the intro slide?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I see it?
Yes. All right.
Hi, Mr. Bowley.
Let's see. One more minute, a couple more people to join.
Mm-hmm.
Live streaming is gearing up.
Perfect.
All right, we are now streaming live on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us here today. This is a live webinar all about day in the life of remote interns. And this is a bittersweet moment for myself. I'm Dr. Victoria Mattingly, and CEO and founder of Mattingly Solutions, because it is the last day of the internship for the phenomenal interns, Hannah Kim and Curtis Lee, who I've had with me this summer. But we just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us on this call. We're live streaming on Facebook, so if you're watching it on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. And we'll also be sharing this on the Mattingly Solutions YouTube channel, so you can watch it after the fact as well. So what we're going to be covering today, we're just going to do some quick introductions to myself and also Curtis and Hannah. And then we're going to get into what they accomplished this summer. They did some really phenomenal things. I'll share a little context about my company so you can learn, what they did and where we're at as a company, and also how they help really take things off the ground for Mattingly Solutions this summer. They're going to talk in detail about not only the internship, but also the remote aspect to it. So both Hannah and Curtis, completely randomly, I did not do this on purpose, but they both live about 20 minutes apart from one another in South Korea. So we have a 13-hour time difference between where they are and where I'm based out here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So not only what they did at the internship itself, but the remote aspect, the 13-hour time difference, the dealing with COVID-19 constraints and restrictions, and also everything's happening with our societal landscape at the moment. And then we did take some questions from people as they signed up for the webinar. And please, if you have additional questions, just put those in the chat, and we save lots of time at the end for questions. So just put those right there, and then I'll be facilitating the Q&A at the end. So let's jump into some quick introductions, and we can get to the meaty stuff of what Hannah and Curtis accomplished this summer. Curtis, you mind going on to the next slide? So I'm Victoria Mattingly. Some people refer to me as Dr. V, which I love so much. And I have my PhD in organizational psychology. I got that from Colorado State University, but I am a Pittsburgh native. I was born and raised in Swissville, went to Woodland Hills High School, and got my undergrad degree from the University of Pittsburgh in psychology and communications. Before I started Mattingly Solutions, I worked at Amazon on their talent assessment team, helping some software engineers not only hire the next wave of software engineers at Amazon, but also teaching them about the value of emotional intelligence and candidate experience, and really getting at my true passion, which is improving the human experience at work through increased and enhanced interpersonal communication, emotional intelligence, and workplace inclusion. I also came back to Pittsburgh to work at DDI as a leadership development consultant, and I worked at a company called Mind Gym, which was based in New York, but I worked here in Pittsburgh. So I got about a year head start on the remote life, and learned, like most lessons in life, how to do it all the wrong way. So I spent the last year learning how to do it the right way, and building in some boundaries, work-life balance, and also using this skill set to help, with my clients and those I work with, as an organizational psychologist. I felt like I was the doctor telling people not to smoke and then going out and smoking a pack a day. So I've since corrected my ways, and I have so much empathy for those who have started remote work for the first time. And we really tried to incorporate, work-life best practices into the internship as well, keeping that in mind. I started my company, Mattingly Solutions, just about a year ago. About to hit a year anniversary now. We use organizational science to improve the human experience at work. And on the previous slide, I mentioned, I'm not building a unicorn with Mattingly Solutions. So in the startup space, we hear a lot about these unicorns, right? The Ubers and the Facebooks, and these Duolingo's unicorn. And it means, when they go public, they're valued at least $1 billion. That's really great for the economy and investors, but there's also some downsides of a unicorn, which is, having such a investment in that growth, high growth, profit. And even though Mattingly Solutions, we value, being a successful, profitable company, we value our people first. And, we look we want to build a sustainable company that really stays true to our values, takes care of our employees, has organic growth, and has a really strong societal mission underneath what we do, which is, as you can see on the screen, improving the human experience at work. We do corporate workshops, keynote speeches, people analytics. As I mentioned before, we're really focusing a lot on workplace inclusion right now and allyship, and then also diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting. So that's a little bit about me, but enough about me. This is about the interns. I wanted to kick it over and learn a little bit about them and get an introduction.
Yeah, so let me start. My name is Hannah Kim, and I have been working as an inbound marketing intern at Mattingly Solutions here. And I'm also a rising senior at Carnegie Mellon University, where I study decision science as my major. And for those of you who don't know what decision science is, it's a major that only exists in CMU. So it's a study where basically you learn how to make good decisions based on evidence and data. I'm also minoring in business administration and media design because that's where all my interests lie. And after that, after graduation, I am interested in pursuing jobs in marketing and consulting industry, which was perfect for me to be applying to Mattingly Solutions because I was an inbound marketing intern at a consulting firm. A fun fact about myself is that I am the next Korean Student Association president at CMU.
Hi guys, I'm Curtis Lee, and this year I was a project management intern at Manly Solutions. I'm currently a rising sophomore in Carnegie Mellon University, majoring in policy and management, and also a minor in Chinese and a minor in Swift, which is a new program in CMU focusing on like philosophy and like technology and combining those two main topics to create this interdisciplinary subject area. A fun fact about me is that I'm also in the Army ROTC program, which has been hard with the school and stuff, but it's definitely something that I feel like is very worth it and very fun to do.
Thank you, Hannah and Curtis. So you've heard a little bit about us, but let's hear a little bit about you. We have a couple polling questions. So we're going to launch that first one. First is, who is on the call today? So I see some familiar names, but I see some unfamiliar names. So are you a student? Are you a small business owner interested in learning about how to run your own internship? Or are you other? And if you're other, take a moment to type in the chat box where you're coming in from. What's your background? What brought you here today? Why are you interested in learning about this remote internship experience? Looks like we have 80% other, which is so interesting. So thank you all for joining us today. We're so thrilled to have you. And please, use that chat box. Let us know where you're coming in from. Tabitha, HR manager, and we'll call out some of those roles and backgrounds there. One more polling question for you. But what are you most excited or interested in learning about today? So we have a bunch of topics we're going to cover, but we can certainly spend some extra time on the ones that are most of interest to the group. So I'll give a moment just to respond to that poll there. Do you want to hear about what the interns did, the effects of COVID-19, the time zone difference, and then lessons learned from this internship? So take a moment to fill that out. All right, looks like everyone voted there. So the winner was lessons learned from the internship. So we'll make sure that we're distributing lessons throughout the webinar today. And also please make sure if you have questions as they come up to put those in the chat box. I just wanted to share, we have Joe from the CMU Career Center, career consultant. We have Brian, who's an upcoming first-year student. Thanks for coming, Brian. We have Jason, who does OD coaching at NASA, and he also mentors a couple IO psychology interns. So as I mentioned, that's my background is industrial organizational psychology, and a lot of the work, all the work we do is really rooted in that foundation. And yeah, we're just super thrilled to have you all join us. Olivia just joined us. She played a really incredible mentor role with the interns. We can share a little bit about that, but let's get into the good stuff. What Hannah and Curtis accomplished this summer and lessons learned. So Let's start off with the application process. So Hannah, Curtis, tell us about, how you found the internship, how you applied, and I'm happy to share, my process of getting that internship up on the job posting site. But tell us about your application process.
Mm-hmm. I can start. So like many other people, especially students around me and friends around me, because of COVID, school had closed down, and many of the internships that I was actually applying to and in the process of applying actually got canceled. So at that point, I actually decided to come back to Korea to stay with my parents. So I was actively looking out for a remote internship role. And during that process, my career consultant, Joe, actually sent out a email about a open position at Mattingly Solutions. And after reading the job description of it being a marketing position at a consulting firm, which is both of the industry that I'm most interested in, I went ahead and applied. After that, it was pretty much traditional application process where I emailed Dr. V my resume, my cover letter, and then after that, we had an interview, and soon after, we were working together. So that's my process.
For me, I think it was like spring semester around like March. I was working with Joe too to find an internship, and I'd set up like multiple like internship like companies, and like for spring break I was planning to like send the application within that week. And then COVID hit and my plans just suddenly all kind of disappeared and I had to come back to Korea. And so my thought was like I wasn't gonna have anything for the summer. So I was just thinking just spending family time. And as soon as I get back to Korea, I get an email from Joe about Mattingly Solutions. So I just went ahead and applied through my stone. And what's interesting is at first I did not get the internship, and I followed up to Victoria and we just kind of got into a good conversation. We did a call, I think, actually after a week, and we started talking about this different project that Dr. Mattingly was working on, and I was really interested. And she seemed to be willing to, give me that position and like see how it works out. And that's how I got my position as a project management intern. And now we're here a couple months later.
So a couple of lessons I learned through this process. One was that whole process of having the students use the resume, the cover letter, and using my IO psychology background of really trying to match, the best candidate to the competencies of the role. Hannah had really great previous experience and internship she's done, and she had a skill set that aligned really nicely with what we were looking for an inbound marketing intern. And then but I'm still trying to keep my bias to a minimum, even though she was my top applicant on paper. And all this was before Curtis applied. So this was not in comparison to Curtis by any means. But, trying to also let not only the skills, but then her responses in the interview and asking really, situational based interview questions. So the work that she had done in the past, and just ensuring that not only was she great at writing the resume, but she had the stories and the experience that matched it from that end. And also the reason why I went with Carnegie Mellon and really focused my efforts trying to get interns from that institution was because they offer a phenomenal grant where if you take an unpaid internship, which is what was the case with Mattingly Solutions this fall. We are in startup mode, so we didn't have the capital to have a paid internship, unfortunately. But there are opportunities for grants and different programs to get funding from alternative resources, and I thought that's so phenomenal, and I couldn't recommend enough for other universities or institutions to have, some sort of grant or some, money opportunity to be able to support students financially. And then with Curtis, the internship was already full, only had one internship slot available. Hannah's, job role was very aligned. We had a whole job description and we had some training to get her started right off the bat. But Curtis, he had such a phenomenal skill set. He is a official TED speaker, not TEDx, but like TED, like the TED organization. Super impressive. And I knew that we could use his skill set in, creating content and marketing and just messaging. And then also this mamapreneur endeavor, which has since been put on hold in light of COVID and everything, and also just typical startup world of starting down the track and, you know, failing forward, failing quickly, and you know, prioritizing what makes sense for the company at the time. But it was that particular venture really aligned well with his skill set. And so the other lesson learned was take advantage of opportunities, even if they might kind of come out of nowhere. And we crafted a 20-hour internship, knowing that his interest and experience aligned so nicely with what we were going to accomplish. And then we made that pivot, which Curtis will talk a little bit about midway through the summer. So his internship ended up looking very differently than how it started, but I think we still got some really great work, and hopefully he had a great experience as a result of that. Let's dig into the responsibilities, and I know Hannah and Curtis, you prepared some slides to show what you actually did this summer. So let's show off the work you did.
Sure, so I can go ahead and start. So as an inbound marketing intern, some of the major responsibilities I had was generally building a presence in the diversity, equity, and inclusion industry as a startup company. And because we were a startup, we didn't have a specific marketing strategy in hand. So we went ahead and started a newsletter, a company blog. I sent out content on social media platforms, created web pages, email automations, and I also did some research on marketing as well. So overall, can we go back to the last slide? Yeah, so overall, as an inbound marketing intern, I first got trained and got certified. I created a newsletter series, like I said, built engagement materials for marketing, such as forums and blogs, and then I planned out social media content. And I'll show you some of the snippets of the work that I've done. So these are basically the certifications that I received. One of them from HubSpot, where I took a course on inbound marketing, and then some of the other courses were basically on how to use different platforms, and one of them being ActiveCampaign, which is a email marketing platform where you can create different forms and send out email campaigns as well. Next slide, please. So this is the newsletter that I created with Dr. V. Our newsletter, the concept is 1-4-2 newsletter with 1 big idea, 4 resources, and 2 actions, all about allyship, sent out on 14th and 2nd every month. And on the right-hand side is a form I created to attract more viewers to subscribe to our newsletter. And this is a glimpse of what the newsletter looked like. This is actually our second newsletter that was sent out with 1 big idea, 4 resources, 2 actions, all about allyship again. And so this is what the social media content calendar looked like, with first the topics of the content that we were going to be pushing out on which of the different platforms, social media platforms, such as like LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, etc., and what type of content they were, like article, micro content, video, and whether they were published, planned, scheduled, and the status of them. And this is what the blog looked like. These are the 2 articles these are one of the 2 of the articles that are published currently on our company website. And lastly, these are some of the content that I published on the different social media platforms that I mentioned before, like Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc.
So for me, like Dr. Manley said, my responsibilities did change quite a lot halfway through the summer. So I'll just kind of briefly go over each half and sort of like later explain how that happened. But as a project management intern, I basically first worked on developing the Mompreneur product, which was basically the idea of having a co-working space for mothers and mother entrepreneurs, a place where their children and they can both have a productive and safe and enjoyable experience and have all the resources they need, and like a hub of sort of networking so that these mompreneurs can get like a boost to whatever business they're working on. And I also work with Dr. Victoria Manley to gather any like needed resources for this project, such as contacts or just descriptions, or kind of organizing the big idea, finding locations, and just kind of dealing with the small things that are need to be set for this project to be successful. And I also work with multiple platforms to share, propose, and organize these ideas. And through this experience, I got to work with like YouTube, Camtasia, and Wix, and to kind of showcase some of these works that I did. So this was the Mompreneur website that we worked on for like the first half of the summer. And although it's still under wraps, like the website's still there, and I think it looks great. And hopefully, like in a couple of years, it can come back out and be the official Mompreneur website under Manly Solutions. And this is like just a basic glimpse of what our YouTube page currently looks like. We worked on sort of making it organized so that it kind of appears better to the audience, and also putting in as much content as possible so that it appears and like the search analytics is good.
Yeah, so it's just to share a little bit of context about the shift in Curtis's internship. So this Mamapreneur venture was going to involve potential crowdsourcing or investment to get a physical location to build this space that Curtis so eloquently explained just a moment ago. And then in light of COVID-19 and watching, especially here in Pittsburgh, but I think all across the world, co-working spaces starting to shut down and the business model not being sustainable at the present time, it just didn't make sense to continue going down that track at this time. But something that I love about, the digital world and, everything that Curtis did this summer is all of that will definitely get to good use one way or another whenever we do reprise that work, even though right now Mattingly Solutions focuses on workplace inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our ultimate mission is improving the human experience at work. And so providing resources and really investing in parents in the workplace, I see that being a future priority of the company. And so I'm excited to open that up as like a beautiful like time capsule a few years from now, whenever there's a vaccine and co-working spaces are a safe and productive place and a good business decision in the future. But right now it just didn't make sense. But then we didn't want to just leave Curtis high and dry. And so he jumped right into the work that he did, as he showed on the YouTube channel, being a support with Hana. And so with the remote aspect of the internship, and I'm sure, Hana and Curtis will talk more about this too, but having them start to do work together and create more of that collaboration was a huge value add. And we were really great to pull Curtis into the broader team, when we made that pivot. So with that in mind, I would love to hear more about, Hana, Curtis, like how involved were you with the business? And this also related to the next question, like who did you work with? What was your day-to-day like? We met individually, so I met with both Hana and Curtis individually every single week, usually at the beginning of the week. But I know there are more people you met with. So tell us about your involvement in the business and who you worked with.
Okay, so for me, I think I personally was very involved with this business, especially because when I was first starting out, I was the only marketing employee or person at the company. And with that, Dr. V also made sure to keep us in the loop by giving us updates about how it's going with our clients, how our proposals are looking. So I would say that I was pretty involved with the company. I was also, when I first started, it was just me and Dr. V, but later on, Curtis joined, and during the process, few of the other team members joined as well. And I was introduced to every single one of them, and we were able to have a chat and a call to kind of introduce ourselves to each other and kind of share what we do. So I would say that I was pretty involved with the company.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the most, I think, really kind of highlighting part of this internship was that as an intern, you have to be very adaptive. Like I personally wasn't an expert in YouTube. I personally wasn't an expert in Camtasia or Wix. I'm just still a sophomore, a rising sophomore actually, in Carnegie Mellon University. So I wouldn't like certify myself as an expert, but I think like all the people, the person, like the networking, the people that Victoria had with around her, like in the beginning, Andrew, one of her friends, helped me with the Wix setup where he just taught me all the technical stuff, and I learned from him how to sort of make sure that the website is looking good, but also very professional and credible. And I also had Ryan to help me out, and with his background in pharmaceuticals, we sort of also kind of discussed how we could bring in that kind of industry to our radar so that we can help them with diversity and inclusion. I also had Livia, who was helping me out with YouTube and making sure like our YouTube videos were looking good with like professional and credible content. And so like throughout this whole process, it was a lot of me trying to learn from everyone and putting all the skills that I learned from that into like Mattingly solutions and trying to bring out the best product as possible.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell from the slideshow just a moment ago, Hannah and Curtis crushed it, and I think not only are they just awesome, and I think they would have crushed it regardless. A lesson learned for me pretty early on was, you know, with the 13-hour time zone difference and being in startup mode and doing most of pretty much all the business by myself at the onset, I realized pretty quickly that I couldn't alone, just me, provide the level of support and mentorship and just, you know, resources to them as just myself. And so I have a phenomenal network and incredible friends, and a lot of people have, you know, jumped in with Mattingly Solutions either in a mentor role, like Livia on the call right now. I mean, she works with me as a mentor and a colleague, but she also really stepped in as a, you know, a mentor specifically to the interns this summer. Ryan, who's also on the call, stepping into more of a partner role and just helping kind of scale all the work I was doing. And now we have multiple people doing the work, which has been phenomenal. And, you know, just trying to scale myself and the type of hands-on internship I wanted to provide to Curtis and Hannah this summer through my network and through just the phenomenal people who are wanting to help. I also want to give a shout out to my friend and colleague Natasha, who has her own entrepreneurial endeavors right now with branding and online marketing. She has a background in IO psychology as well, but she really stepped up and gave that mentoring and guidance to particularly Hannah. And I think, did you have a chance to meet with Natasha, Curtis?
I have not.
So we'll have to connect you. And
yeah.
Like, this is not just because it's the last day, and I mentioned earlier, it's a bittersweet day for me, but you know, it's not goodbye. It's goodbye to doing work for me, but it's not goodbye to having me in your network. And so I hope you continue to stay in touch with everyone else that you got connected with this summer.
And like a personal like lesson I learned through this internship and talking about this topic about having all these people around you and the characteristics of a startup, I think both Hannah and I kind of learned that although like in a small team, like you may be an expert in some area, especially in a startup, like you have to be aware of everything. You have to be aware of the whole business. You have to be aware of the big ideas and the small ideas. And within this small team, like although we each have our different roles, it was also apparent that like we were trying to help each other out, although we weren't like an expert in that field. And it was just all of us just having this big picture in our heads and just striving towards that and just putting as much input as possible.
And one tool that helped immensely, about halfway through the internship, we started using Slack, and that was really helpful to accomplish just what Curtis was saying about, you know, keeping everyone in the loop. You know, we got some new business in the middle of the summer, which was really exciting, and to be able to share that moment with the team. And I use video a lot. It's really quick and easy for me. I can record a quick video, and there's even an add-in on Slack where you can just have it record directly on Slack and then share it out, so you don't have to deal with the whole, okay, I have this video, I have to upload it somewhere, put it on YouTube. You can, you know, put videos right in Slack, and just to be able to quickly share ideas with the team, updates, and then using the different channels. When we brought Curtis into the pharmacy, we're trying to develop a pharmacy specific line of products and offerings. And so we created a pharmacy channel, and he and Ryan were able to, you know, work there, but then we all have that transparency to be able to see what everyone's doing. And it also worked really nicely with the asynchronous aspect. And I did want to spend some time hearing Curtis and Hannah talk about how the 13-hour time difference went. And, you know, right now I want to just thank you both for being on this call, because it's 1:30 a.m. in Korea at the moment. And so if they seem a little sleep, which you don't, you both seem so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But if you feel sleepy, I apologize. So let's talk a little about the time zone difference, the tools we use to get around it, and lessons learned from that aspect. Because not only were we geographically remote, we're separated by 13 hours as well.
That's true. So, well, like Victoria mentioned, me and Curtis are both in South Korea right now, and Victoria's in Pittsburgh, so that results in a 13-hour time difference. And for me, that being on top of this internship being a remote intern made it actually first challenging to kind of get in the habit of doing the work on my own. But once I was able to establish that habit, I feel like it was a really valuable lesson learned. So I learned how to be autonomous and responsible for my own time. And I actually found out that I really enjoyed working at home and that it really worked well for me. So even though it was challenging at first for this internship being remote and with the 13-hour difference, I thought it was a really valuable experience for me to kind of explore more about how I function as a professional.
As for me, I really learned how important communication was, because usually like what my schedule would look like is I was getting these calls, I was getting these meetings around like evening time till around like 2 a.m. if late, like 3 a.m. And then I'll go to sleep, and I'll wake up with like a bunch of messages, emails from like Victoria or Ryan or Olivia, and like things to do. But my schedule of the day was to start working around like afternoon, like past noon. But like my personality, like I'm the person, like if I have something to do, I can't really like kind of relax fully until I get those things done and I check it off the checklist. So it was definitely like, although it was like a 20-hour internship, like it definitely felt a bit more and like a 24/7 thing, because you were just constantly getting these messages and just staying on top of all these updates. And what I learned was like even though that was a challenge, like with the great communication and like just like the professionalism of Dr. Manley and Ryan and all the other staff members, like it was really, I think it made it easier to coordinate like our meetings and our work time, and overall have a really fun time while working on Manley solutions.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. And something that I try to be really transparent and just like to set expectations up front. So, you know, as an organizational psychologist and a business owner, like I'm not a seats and butts type of person where, you know, I just want people to work these 40 hours in a certain place in a certain time, and if that face time gets rewarded. I wanted to be very clear that, you know, we'll have working expectations and projects and different things that, you know, you'll be expected to do, but, you know, keep your hours under what we talked about, and that's, you know, your responsibility. And let me know if there's issues that, you know, too much work. I don't want you working all these hours, but when you get your work done, that's on your time. It was really important to me. We know from best practices in organizational science, having that autonomy, having the ability to control your own schedule and decide how to do your work really does lead to better job performance, better job satisfaction. So that was a really important aspect of the internship that I wanted to make really clear up front, that yes, I want to be your support and we'll meet and we'll have good communication, but do the work when you want to do it. You by no means need to keep Pittsburgh time being 13 hours away, and, you know, let's just keep each other in the loop with what you're doing, but, you know, try to give that autonomy. And I know from thinking back on previous internships I've had, you know, that's typically not the case. You usually have a lot of micromanagement and you don't have as much control over your schedule. And so that was really important. But with that is the trade-off of, having to really learn how to manage your time and learn when to do the work. And there were some calls were on and I'm like, how are you up right now? Go to bed. Like, thank you for being on the call, but go to sleep. Or getting messages on Slack. I'm like, it is 4 a.m. there right now. What is happening? But just trusting that you two made good decisions, and you never seemed too sleepy, but but it was a balancing act, trying to empower, but also make sure that, we're not working too crazy hours and you still felt like you had what you needed to get the good work done.
Right. And like something else that I kind of experienced was like, even with like the challenging time difference, like I realized if you like really like the work and if you really like kind of just spending time on it, like I would think, like, especially for a mompreneur, like I would constantly be thinking about it. And it was because something that I was kind of like passionate about. And it was something where I could actually bring in my own ideas to kind of add on to the big idea. And so like once you kind of get into the work and like really enjoy what you're doing, I realized like that time difference wasn't too much of a burden. It was more like you're constantly thinking about it and you just needed that time set up so that you can put those down and communicate your ideas with the rest of the people.
So we talked a little bit about the time zone difference and how that impacted the internship. How about COVID? We are in the middle of a global pandemic right now. Even though South Korea is a country that I personally look up to and wish America could take some best practices from what's going on over there. How did COVID impact the internship for you both this summer?
Curtis, do you want to go ahead and start?
Sure. Okay. Well, the first thing was, I mentioned this previously, but during spring break, I was planning on like applying to these multiple internships. And I was just kind of shocked for a second that all of that just completely disappeared. Because first of all, they were all in person. I had to come back to Korea. And I realized some of these companies were also kind of withdrawing their internship applicabilities because they couldn't have in-person internships within their company. So it was just like a day of awe and like terror and fear. And I just, thanks to Joe, like as soon as I stepped back into Korea, like he gave me this one opportunity, and I'm just really fortunate to be able to have that opportunity and to be able to get it. And just overall, like I would say like time difference was definitely a thing. Like if you were in Pittsburgh with, Dr. Mattingly, like it would have been a different experience, but definitely I think just both ways there's a lot to learn. And like many people are saying, it's the new normal. And I think it was really valuable to have this experience and to be in this situation and to be able to work within this situation. But definitely like there may be some like in-person aspects that are kind of different with this remote internship. But overall, I think from like the circumstances, like there were a lot of lessons to be learned, and something that I think will be useful like for the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I definitely had a very similar experience as Curtis. I was also looking for an internship, like I said before. And as a rising senior, I thought this was a really important point in my life where I needed to get that one internship that really changed my professional life. And when COVID hit, I didn't want to believe it, but all the applications were being withdrawn. I kept getting emails saying that the application process is getting canceled. So when I got the opportunity at Mattingly Solutions, I was really thankful, and I was actually really excited to take on a remote internship because I haven't had that experience yet. And I mean, everyone keeps talking about the new normal being everyone having these virtual meetings and us not having to actually be in person from now on. So I try to stay positive. I try to learn as best as I can from this experience. And I would actually say that I learned a lot of things that I think I wouldn't have had the chance to learn if it was actually a in-person internship. Because, for example, I think I personally got a lot better at receiving constructive feedback because this was a remote internship. Like, as Dr. V said before, we had one-on-one meetings every week, once at the beginning of the week, to kind of go over the work that will be done for the next couple of days, and once at the end of the week to kind of review all the work that I've did. And with those 2 meetings, and I mean, there was Slack in between, but because of those 2 meetings, there was time and space restriction because Dr. V wasn't right next to me reviewing my work. So I had to start asking direct questions and ask for direct feedback about specific aspects of the work that I've done. And for example, like, what do you think about the image? What do you think about the infographic? Do you think I should change some of the context for the social media contents that I'm pushing out? And with these development, I feel like I was able to really grow professionally and individually as well, in being able to receive better feedback and more efficiently retain from them.
Yeah, it's something Hannah did really great because, you know, as a business owner and having a million things going on at any given moment, you know, there were some times where she needed very specific things from me. And about midway through the summer, she just started asking, like, Dr. B, can you give me A, B, C, D? And I'm like, yes, like this was perfect because I could just respond. And we use Slack. So, you know, she would send me that and she probably was going to bed. I was waking up. And so it was just like a really great cadence, and like managing up is a really important skill. And the fact that I was seeing that happen and so thrilled to like get that direction, you know, especially because I didn't want to leave anyone hanging, and, you know, being able to give you what you need, but also give you the space to ask for what you need. I feel like you just did a really great job with that this summer, Hannah. Something else we did, and we got a little lax towards the end, which was on me, but I did work at Amazon. We also did a little bit of this at DDI, but using some lessons from the Agile playbook. So Scrum team best practices. So having each meeting, we answered a variety of questions like, what did you accomplish since last time we spoke? What do you plan on accomplishing next time? And what challenges or barriers do you face? And then my favorite one, which I tried to ask every time we met, was, what are you most excited about? And just to hear, you know, what you're most looking forward to doing, and just to have that consistency in the cadence to make sure we're covering all the bases. And then something I wish we did a little bit more of would have been a little more team building or just kind of fun, non-work related things. But, you know, I think that that's just a little harder to create in a virtual environment, but that's something I'd like to investigate more. And if y'all have any ideas in the future, I'll be sure to hit you both up when I have my next internship to get some of those ideas of, you know, what we could have done better. But on that note, you know, what are some big lessons you learned from the internship? You know, what were the benefits to this experience? And also, what were some unique challenges you faced that, you know, you can speak to about the internship experience?
Curtis, do you want to give a go?
Yeah, sure. I can go ahead. I think it's like, I briefly went over it previously, but basically I feel like the topic of this being the new normal, like we have companies who are permanently going remote, and like the whole area of business is becoming more international. So like even if you're in an in-person, you know, employee, like you're gonna have to talk to people across the world if the company is like, you know, big enough to have that span. And I feel like just I've learned these very small but very vital things that kind of make a remote work life successful. And I definitely would put communication as like the first. Like having those weekly calls with Dr. V was very helpful in terms of just keeping me in the loop and keeping me in the big picture of the whole company and the projects, which just helped me when I was working on the small things. Because like I have this, my personality is like I have to start with the big picture and come down to the small picture, and just being aware of where my work was being put into use was just very helpful. Slack was definitely, it was amazing, like just being able to just chat up people quickly without having to write an email or like waiting for an email. And just basically like Zoom, Slack, all these tools and all these platforms were just very helpful in making sure that I was aware of what was going on, and that Dr. V was aware of what I was working on, and just overall having this very fluent work life overall.
Mm-hmm. I agree with everything Curtis said. I especially agree with how having that one-on-one meeting with Dr. V really helped, and actually like giving me a chance to proactively like offer insights and opinions about the work that we're doing, um, which is or specifically about like what we need or should be doing right now at the moment, which is how we came to start the blog and the company blog and the newsletter in the first place. And personally, as a senior, I was able to basically solidify my knowledge from my last internship where I worked as a marketing and communications intern while starting to learn more about the industry that I was interested in, which was consulting. In fact, I was introduced to some of Dr. V's friends who were consultants that I could talk to and ask questions and ask for advice. So that was really helpful for me in terms of networking. I also mentioned this before, but I really learned how to be like autonomous and flexible using my time. And since we were scheduling meetings at non-traditional working hours, I had to really get in the habit of spending my time and using my time well. And since I was able to delegate work between the different days and kind of decide what I wanted to spend more time on, I was able to build that autonomous, like I said. Um, and yeah, so in general, I feel like I learned a lot from this remote internship. And I feel like some people or some students fear that with internships being remote, they might not get the experience that they're expecting from a in-person internship, and they might be thinking that they're not going to learn enough, but I feel like that's not the case. And some of the and like I mentioned, some of the skill sets that I've learned, I feel like I couldn't have imagined learning from a in-person internship. So I definitely encourage taking on a remote internship. I would recommend it to all my friends.
Love it. So there are some questions we wanted to address from the submission from those who registered for the event, and then feel free if you have additional questions, please put those in the chat, or raise your hand and unmute. We're happy to hear voices and see faces on this as well. But one question is particular skills that businesses are looking for that make remote interning a possibility. And I think you heard it, a lot in what Hannah and Curtis shared, but just being technologically savvy. And I feel like Gen Z already has a huge leg up in that regard. There was never, if anything, Curtis especially, and Hannah knows my tools better than I do now. And then Curtis was helping me with things like YouTube and just being able to highlight your digital skill set and, just make it really clear that you're comfortable working in a digital environment. And I also think just professionalism. I know a lot of that's learned throughout internships and in this, student time of life, but you kind of have to accelerate that in this virtual context, like showing up to meetings, being professional in conversations. Something that really impressed me with Curtis, he created an internship essentially for himself. The position was filled, but he was so professional and persistent in his emails and just following up that I was, okay, we need to at least talk, even if we don't do anything together. Like, be in my network, let me know how I can help you. And I was just really impressed with both of their professionalism this summer. So I think professionalism and digitization and anything else you want to add with skills that would be good things for other interns to highlight, Hannah and Curtis?
I think one is adaptability. I think this goes for remote and in-person internships, especially within the current time and situation, being able to adapt to the time difference, being able to adapt to the different kind of work environment, being able to adapt into different kind of situations. One of the other reasons why we kind of put mompreneur under the boxes was because the Black Lives Matter movement that happened halfway through our internship, and that was getting a lot of momentum, that was getting a lot of synergy from people, and that was basically what Manly Solutions kind of started off with, diversity and inclusion. and we saw that companies really needed help within that area, and it was better to have everyone just kind of focused on that rather than kind of dividing up the attention to something else. So we just took that opportunity where people were paying attention to these issues, and I had to just quickly switch up my gears and start working towards that and kind of switch out from that mompreneur mindset into the bigger picture of Manly Solutions. And so overall, just being able to adapt, because I don't think anything will prepare you for a certain internship. Like, you won't be perfectly ready, but having that skill to just quickly move on to something and like respond to something is just something that I think a lot of employers would value from an intern.
I agree. And adding on to adaptability, I feel like being open-minded and willing to learn and try different things is really important as a remote intern, because as of now, remote intern isn't really the conventional internships format or type that everyone is expecting, but it is the new normal now. So if people are willing to try new things, even I didn't have any experience working remotely, but after trying it out, I learned that it was working really well for me. So like that, I think being open to try new things, try different experience, is really important as a remote intern, as well as being flexible.
Thank you for that, you both. And Jason just submitted a great question, so I'm going to read that. I'd love to hear your answer to this as well. So you've been interning in a space that's very unique, especially within a startup that's approaching the space with a lot of creativity. How has working with Dr. V and the team rubbed off on you? What have you learned about the field of work and the science?
I can start off with that. One of the first impressions I got with Manly Solutions when Joe sent me the details about this startup company was just how like interesting and like how interdisciplinary it was. Because usually when thinking about like management consulting, you think about like finances, economics, and stuff like that. But kind of combining this field of psychology into business was something that was just really interesting to me. And about like a year before, I read this book called Nudge, which was also about behavioral science and behavioral economics. And it just really, I thought it was just perfect to learn more about this field, even like with CMU working on that specific area of just kind of trying to promote behavioral science to a lot of its majors. Like, I thought it was just great to have exposure on that. And what I learned throughout the internship was just the importance of a lot of these, because a lot of these businesses are now very popular amongst Gen Z generations. They have a lot of media, a lot of platforms, and what they do sort of reflect what society does in a way. And I think that in order to make sure that society and both these companies kind of grow together and grow towards the right direction, I think having like changes within the work environment, having changes within just the community within these businesses is important. And just tackling the issue of diversity and inclusion using behavioral psychology, organizational psychology, and also kind of having a business from it, having this management consulting company out of it, is something that's really a positive thing to our society and something that I think we need more. I think we need more companies to be interested in these opportunities and more people like Dr. V coming to work in these type of companies to make sure that both businesses and communities are like gearing towards the right direction and for an overall improvement of society.
Love it.
I agree with everything Curtis said. And how it personally rubbed off on me was that, similar to Curtis, when I first read the job description, I mean, it was, like I mentioned, it was a marketing position at a consulting industry, so that was perfect. But what was even more perfect was that it was an HR management firm that was focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, I mean, this had to be the best workplace ever. So I was really encouraged to apply. And once I got the job and I started talking with Victoria and having one-on-one meetings, she always as an IO psychologist, she always mentioned that she didn't want to micromanage me and she wanted to give me that autonomous that I was hoping that I could learn from this internship. And I feel like there was like a very good mix of getting that feedback that I needed and being autonomous. So I feel like that worked really well. And personally, like I mentioned at the very first slide about how I'm going to be the next Korean Student Association's president, I want to learn from Victoria's meeting methods, where she asks all the different questions, where like what we're most excited about and what our challenges might be. I'm definitely going to be implementing that to the meetings I have with my e-board members. So that's how the internship affected me personally.
Love it. And Brian, thank you for this question. Couldn't have planned it better. We have 4 minutes left and we wanted to share some resources. And I did want to, before I ask, I did want to shout out to Joe on the call. So, and this was, as a startup, this was my first time running an internship, and I did not know the best way to, solicit interns or where to apply, what to do. And he was just such a phenomenal resource to me as the small business owner. And then to learn that he worked directly with Curtis, it was just like such a serendipitous moment. So thank you, Joe, for all you do for small business owners, but for the students as well, to really be that professional matchmaker. We're so grateful for you. But Brian's question is, and it's related to what's on the screen as well right now, but what do you guys think is the best way to find internships, job opportunities, especially during the pandemic, where job fairs and in-person interviews just aren't an option? Did you use Handshake, LinkedIn, etc.?
Yeah, well, like the first thing I kind of did my spring semester of freshman year is just I just went to the career center and talked to Joe. Like I wasn't there to like complete a certain task, but I was just there to kind of discuss like what I could be doing right now to prepare myself for certain internships. And we just started off with like preparing our resume. And then once like job postings came out, I just spent my free time just scrolling through Handshake. Like you scroll through Facebook and just see and highlight what I kind of see interested in. And then once I start those down, put them in like a separate area, I'll go to those and then narrow it down to a couple that I would actually be willing to work on. And yeah, definitely the Handshake app with CMU, the Career Center, is definitely helpful. Like you can just see what kind of opportunities you have. Those internship fairs are also very helpful in terms of learning how to talk to these employers, how to do these interviews, just preparing yourself, getting you in a position where you can just easily converse with them and sort of portray your best self to these employers. And I don't know how like the in-person fairs are gonna work out the next year, but like even if it's online, like a webinar, definitely just take part because it will just kind of prepare you like that. And definitely also like again to adaptability, like my plans just completely wiped out last minute, and I was still able to fortunately find a internship with Dr. V. And I think it's just persistence, professionality, and just professionally and nicely just asking, even if there's no like follow-up, just being persistent and like, yeah, don't be scared to talk to them. Basically, like they're not some devil human beings. Like they're there because they want help from you, and they also do want to help you. So just kind of savor that really healthy relationship and just approach them.
Yeah, that relates to a question we didn't quite get to, but who to network with. My answer to that, I don't know if you both agree, Hannah and Chris, but anyone willing to talk or chat. Like I used to think networking was a scary thing, especially as a student. But once I changed the approach of like, there are so many smart, interesting, awesome people in the world that any conversation you're going to learn at least one thing new, and most likely that conversation is going to lead to 3 or 4 more conversations because they're going to connect you to others in their network. So network away. There's no one wrong to network with. I think the only wrong thing about networking is not doing it. But we are at time. I couldn't have asked for two better interns to really kick off this internship program. I know Mattingly Solutions is going to have interns again in the future. We're not hiring right now, but I think it's in the works to hire for the spring semester. Thank you all for joining us today. Hannah and Curtis, thank you for the phenomenal work that you did all summer. Their contact information is on the slide here. We're also going to be posting this video and the resources on Mattingly Solutions YouTube channel. But thank you all so much for attending. And yeah, it's bittersweet. I'm so sad to say goodbye, but I'm just so pleased and thrilled with everything you two accomplished this summer. I know you're going to go on to do great things. So thank you all. And that's it.
Thanks, guys. That's great.
Awesome. Wow, that happened.
Yeah.
There's Livia.
Hello.
Wonderful. Oh, how do you two feel?
That's fun. Yeah.
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 I think
Yeah.
good wrap to everything.
Chris nailed it.
Oh no.
I did, but
No, both you guys. I think the exit interview stuff was good primer for everything we talked about. like,
yeah,
questions
definitely.
to answer.
Right.
I agree.
Love it.
Wow.
Hannah, please reach out. I'm going to talk to Curtis now. I'm talking to Ryan later today, but
Mhm,
please reach
mhm.
out. Keep me posted. Maybe, reach out in a couple weeks. Let me know how you're doing.
Mhm.
Definitely let me know when you're coming back to the States. But I've loved working with you. You're wonderful. You're going to do great things. You're going to be such a great leader with your new leadership role coming up. And yeah,
Thank
just
you.
please keep in touch.
Mhm. Thank
Absolutely.
you always, and for everything that you've done, and all you guys, for being here and supporting me through this crazy times.
Yes.
So I can't say thank you more. Like, I can't believe this happened.
You did so well. I'm just so impressed by you both and everything you accomplished. And yeah,
Just the beginning.
just the beginning. Yeah, the
Yep,
support
yep.
does not stop here, but now you don't have to write newsletters or blogs anymore.
I will be subscribed to the newsletter, so
Oh,
I will be looking out for that.
good. Curtis, do you mind if we meet at 1:15?
Yep, that works for me.
Whatever time, it's 3:15. No, it's 2:15 for you. Oh my gosh, yeah, we'll be quick. And Ryan, I will see you in an hour.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you all. Oh, please share the video too with me, Hannah, so I can get on the YouTube channel.
Yep, definitely.
Awesome. All right, have a great day.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.